This Jersey girl has no filter.
So are you getting a lot of hate?
Yeah, a lot of hate.
Bullshit. No.
Welcome to BS with Bella. Hi, welcome back to another episode of BS with Bella, and I'm with Lee Davis. Lee Davis is the newest UCF Assistant Athletic Director, Football's Executive Operations and Recruiting. How are you, Lee?
Hi, Bella. Thanks for having me on. I've been trying to get on your podcast forever. So,
So I'm so happy to have you finally.
I know. I'm excited to be here.
So where did you go to college originally and what for?
So I went to the University of Alabama. That's where I went to school. I did my undergrad and grad school there. My undergrad was in public relations and psychology, and then I got my master's in sport management there.
Did you ever picture yourself going into like football recruiting, or did you have like a different path you wanted to take in sports?
That's a great question. So I really, yes and no. So my dad's a high school coach. And so I've just grown up around football. It was my entire life from the time I was born until I got to college. And I just love the game of football so much. And so back in the day when I was in college, a few years ago, there really wasn't opportunities for women in football specific unless you were a trainer. And still to this day, like when I tell people that I'm in football, they're like, "Oh, are you a trainer? Are you this?" And I'm like, "No, I'm
No,
not."
I have a big title.
But so back, especially back then, there just wasn't that many opportunities for women in football. And then when I went to school at Alabama, my dad connected me with a coach who was recruiting his high school, and he said, "Hey, we hire student assistants in the office." And so my dad connected me with him, and then that's how I got involved. I started out as a volunteer student assistant at Alabama.
What was your first job opportunity in the field?
So my first full-time job was at Mississippi State University with Coach Mullen. And so I was fresh out of grad school. I'd gotten the interview. Just looking back, I'm like, what was I doing? This
That's
is
a
crazy.
big first job too.
I know. And I'm going in to interview with an SEC head coach, right? And so I joke with people because I'm like, my interview process is not normal. I've had 3 interviews in my entire life, all
Wow,
with football head coaches.
that's crazy.
And it's like it's not the normal, hey, tell me your strengths and weaknesses, like a normal interview. So I feel like terrible at an interview.
And how does it feel to be like a woman in sports? I know, like you said before, like at first when you were entering the field, there wasn't a lot of opportunity, but now looking back on like your career path and like your achievements, like how does it feel to be like a woman in sports?
I mean, I love it, and I love seeing other women excel, especially in the football world, just because it's mostly men,
Yeah.
So to see women excel in it and know that they have a place in the game makes my heart so happy.
How many different programs were you a part of and what were your roles there?
So, I was a grad assistant at Alabama, so I worked in recruiting there, and then I went to Mississippi State, and I started off basically as a recruiting assistant, and then worked my way up there. And then when Coach Mullen took the head job at Florida, I went with him to the University of Florida, and so I was there, and kind of in a recruiting role. And then from Florida, I went to the University of Oklahoma, where I was in recruiting as well. And so I think for me, a part of the reason I took this opportunity at UCF was to be able to like big picture things in a
Yeah.
program, and kind of transition out of the recruiting role per se and be able to help in other parts of the football program.
What approach do you take to identifying and recruiting potential players?
So for me, I'm not the one identifying players, so for for us, it's like, okay, here's who we're recruiting
Yeah.
and what can we do to make their experience amazing once we get them on campus.
What type of like recruitment skills that like sets you apart from others, like that you have like a personal touch that you think you bring to the table at different programs?
I don't know. For me, myself, I'm a relationship driven person.
Yeah.
Like I love people. Like I love getting to know people. And that's my favorite part of the job is just building relationships and getting to know and meet people that I would probably never come across otherwise, except in this field. So I feel like that's my just favorite part
Is
of the
building
job.
relationships over like a
Yeah, and
business deal.
I've met so many just amazing people that have helped me and supported me and are a big part of my life today.
How do you build relationships with potential recruits and their families? Like you said before, relationships are really important with you than just kind of like a business deal type of thing. How do you build those relationships with potential players?
I just feel like when you're open and you're honest and you're yourself, that it just naturally happens, and I feel like my job is to support, and just be another layer of support for these kids and the families when they come to campus. And I want them to succeed. I want them, whatever they want to do in life, I want to help them get there.
Do you have any future plans? Like, do you see you doing this the next like 20 years down the line, or are you kind of just like seeing where the ball rolls? Like you said, you've been like
Yeah, I think
this area, this area.
yeah, that's so funny because people ask me that all of the time, and I just feel like I'm living my dream. Like every
Yeah.
day, when I come to work, I love what I do, you
Mhm.
know, and it just makes me happy. I love being part of something bigger, and I love the game of football. So to do this as a job is, just like a pinch me moment. And I think maybe ultimately I would love to get on the administrative side of things and be an associate AD with
Yeah.
football oversight. I think maybe that's the end goal, but I'm just loving life right now.
Can you walk us through like a step process through your day when it comes to game day? What did you do basically at Oklahoma and what are you going to do at UCF?
Yeah, so UCF TBD, I'm not really sure yet. I'm just here to help, however I
Yeah.
can and support whoever in the program I need to support. So at Oklahoma, from start to finish with a recruit's experience, I was in charge of. And so for home games, we would have kids on campus and we would have a photo experience and they would eat a meal and they would be able to hang out with the coaches and maybe tour if they needed a tour and then go out and experience game day at Oklahoma
Yeah.
and on the field pregame. So I looked at it, I was in charge of their experience there from start to finish.
What role does communication play when building all these strong connections with recruits? Are you mostly in touch with families like over like messages? Are you through social media? How do you kind of like maintain your connection, like communication
I
with
feel
players?
like both. So a lot of the kids and their family I follow on social media just to keep up with them.
Yeah.
And so I'll message them or even text message. They all have my number, and if they need anything at all, they know that they can reach out. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer
To
for
find
them.
someone else.
Yeah, someone will know.
Do you have any memorable experiences at OU? I know you kind of just left there, but do you have any memorable like success stories from recruiting that ended up like, the kid
Um,
came and
Let me see. Okay, so I do have a funny story from there. This past year, so we had a big weekend there. It's called Champion Barbecue, and we brought in 30 official visits, which is it's crazy.
crazy?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so in charge of 30 different families to come in, and it's a Thursday night, and I just would when people traveling because it's 30 families that are traveling in. So most of them are flying, some are driving, but they, just want to make sure everybody gets in when they're supposed to get in, especially the flights. So we're tracking the
Yeah.
flights to make sure nothing's delayed. And it's Thursday night around 1 a.m. and I kept my phone on me just in case there's any issues.
Yeah.
And I didn't, it rang. I guess I was still asleep. It rang a second time. And I'm like, oh gosh, what's going on? And it was one of our signees. His flight, he actually signed with Oklahoma, but his flight had gotten canceled.
Oh.
Like,
And you're
yes,
like, oh
like
no.
like completely canceled, and there were no flights to get him in the next day. It was a mess. And I'm like, okay, rule number one, like I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I go into problem solving mode. I'm like, what can we do here? And luckily, our travel agent, she's the GOAT, she was up and she had seen it too. And so we got on the phone with the parents and we ended up, I don't even know how it all worked out, but we got them a Sprinter van to drive them to Norman
Wow.
instead of the flight. Yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, he ended up getting on campus, and having just a great experience. And he committed, I think, a couple of weeks later. It was Taylor Tatum, if
Oh
anybody's
wow.
wondering. Yeah, but I don't even know if I answered your question with that. But that was just kind of just
Yeah.
crazy story of just what you got to do sometimes to get people on campus, because he could have been like, you know what, my flight got canceled,
It's
I'm
all I
not
don't want to
coming.
go.
Yeah, and just giving him a reason to cancel on us. So I'm like, no, you're getting here.
How do you contribute to fostering like a positive team culture within the football program?
I think it's just a product of who you're bringing in,
Yeah.
and making sure that we're recruiting the right people and we're recruiting a good locker room. And it again, it's relationships, and it's making sure beyond football, just talking to them about life. Like we're here to help them, not just because they can play a game, but what are we doing to help them in life
Yeah.
for the person, not the player.
So did you oversee like any of the financial side of any of the football recruiting at the other schools that you did? Like were you kind of touching on like the scholarship side or no, it was kind of just like here are the
So not really
options.
not really the scholarship side of things, but we had a recruiting budget that we
Yeah.
tried to stay in budget with.
Yeah.
I don't know if we always did the best job with that, but we tried.
What
Yeah.
advice would you give to aspiring football players who are navigating the recruitment process?
I think one of my advice I would give is just don't get frustrated, because everybody's journey is so different, and we're in a day and age with social media where we compare, we look at, everybody's highlight reels on social media and want to compare our worst self to their highlight reel. So I would just say that everyone's journey is different. And just because you don't get an offer early on doesn't mean you're not going to get an offer. It's just keep working hard, put your head down, do things the right way, make sure you have good grades, reaching out. I'm a big component of going to camps. So
Yeah.
you're getting seen and you're in front of the coaches. And two, when you work with the coaches at camp, you know how they're going to coach you, so that's important too. But my biggest thing is, just everyone's journey is different. And so what you might see with another person is not going to be your journey.
Would you say that the camps are very more important than a social media reel? Or how do you kind of really determine like if someone doesn't get to go to a camp, do you guys kind of just go off their reel and then go see a high school
Yeah.
game? Or if they don't get the opportunity to go to camps, or are you guys kind of, I guess, from the other programs that you were in, were you guys strong on going to camps only?
Um, I mean, I think it's both. I think it helps if you can go to a camp. It helps
Mhm.
because the coaches are getting to work with you and see you in person, so that makes a big difference. So obviously there are different circumstances for everyone, and not everybody can go to camps. But I do know that there are mega camps where you can go to, and there's a lot of coaches there that where you can be seen. You just want to
Yeah.
be seen. You want
Yeah.
to get your name out there, however, whichever way you do it. And I
Mhm.
know with social media that gives everybody, an opportunity to get their name out there. That wasn't the case, 15 years ago.
What advice would you give to women in sports, especially like where you are now, people who want to go towards like your path and maybe do what you did? What would you look back and give yourself like your own advice?
That's a great question. I would just say, work hard, keep your head down. I'm a big component of even doing just the little things the right way. And when
Yeah.
you don't think people are noticing, they are. I can promise you. So when you work hard and you do things the right way, people are going to give you a chance. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
it's worth it. You have to have thick skin.
Yeah.
You're working around, when you work around men, you definitely have to have thick skin and you can't take things personal.
Do you see a difference now? Like you said, like years ago was kind of like a men dominate. Have you been seeing a lot of change now, especially being in the business of more women being involved in like the college football experience and everything?
Oh yeah, I think it's great. There's just so many more women in this business now. Like when I first started, like I was one of the first females to work full time in college football, and now pretty much every single school has, an on-campus recruiting role. And so like for me, like I to transition into this role, I want people to know like you can be a female in this business and you don't have to be in a recruiting role.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to coach, you can coach.
Yeah.
If the sky's the limit. if you're good at what you do, you can do whatever you want to do.
And I know how you said you bring in like a lot of creativity to the table. How do you stay updated on like the latest trends and developments in like football recruiting?
I know. I'm just constantly like looking at things, not even in football, just across the board, event planning. I'll look on TikTok, just constantly searching and thinking of ideas of what's different, what can we
Yeah.
do set ourselves apart? What can we do that's fun that the kids will like too? So just constantly and I would say I use social media a lot for that, Pinterest and TikTok
Yeah.
and Instagram, all the things.
Outside kind of football, do you have any hobbies or want to do anything else kind of on the side for yourself?
I love to travel. I love to travel to different places. I play golf when I can. I think it's good to have a work-life balance,
Mhm.
and I'm a foodie. I love trying new restaurants.
Really?
So if anybody from Orlando is watching this, send me all the recs.
How do you handle the moving? I know, like you said, like you've bounced from so many different programs. How do you handle like the moving? Like, do you kind of like, is it like a how they give you housing for a little bit and then you kind of figure it out? How do you handle the move?
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. So, my parents have my dog right now.
Mhm.
He's on an extended winter vacation with them. Yes. It's just you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah.
And so right now I'm in the process, I'm trying to find a house
Mhm.
and trying to figure out where I wanna be. There's a lot of cool spots around UCF, so I'm trying to figure out the best area that I wanna live in. But usually the school will pay for your move. And so
Oh,
they'll give
nice.
you yeah, so they'll give you like a moving allowance. And so um, right now I'm in the process of getting all of my stuff from Oklahoma to Orlando and finding a place to live.
Oh, you're not driving, are you?
I actually drove it.
Oh my God. How long
Yes.
was it?
So this is kind of crazy. So when I moved to Oklahoma, one of my best friends who lives in Gainesville, Florida, she rode with me there and flew back.
Oh,
So she
wow.
dropped me
Nice.
off in Oklahoma and flew back. So we're like, it's only right that you fly to Oklahoma and you
And
drive me
drive
back.
back to Florida.
Yes. So I flew her to Oklahoma and she rode with me here a couple
Oh,
weeks
that's
ago.
awesome.
Yes, and I've been very fortunate to work for really, really great people in this business. Coach Mullen's awesome. Coach
Yeah,
Venables is
that's so
awesome.
cool.
Coach Malzahn is awesome. So it's really great. And really, when you're in this business and you work as much as we do, you want to surround yourself with great people. And I've been very blessed that I've been around really great people.
Who would you say is like the coolest person you ever met? Whether it could be like a celebrity on the side of a football game.
Okay, here's a crazy, crazy one. I've actually interviewed Aaron Andrews.
That's so sick.
Isn't that sick? Yes. Yeah, it was definitely it was a cool
A
moment.
cool,
So I would
cool
say
little
that's like a
experience.
fangirl. Like I thought that was awesome.
How'd you get that opportunity?
So when I was at the University of Florida, we were doing a thing and she came on Coach Mullen's Instagram went that
Oh,
I was hosting, and so I got to interview her while she was watching practice, which is cool.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, Lee, so much for coming on my podcast and telling us your experience and how you got to where you are today. I really appreciate you coming on.
All right, thank you.
I'll see you guys next week. This Jersey girl has no filter.
So are you getting a lot of hate?
Yeah, a lot of hate.
Bullshit, bullshit.
Welcome to BS with Bella.